If you're affected by anything you hear, please call our free support line on 0808 2080 888.
I know we were going to talk about this idea of whether or not someone's a carer. You said, do I identify with it? I feel that there's an element of that which is, my mind's in so many places on it. So first of all, am I a carer insofar as literally, do I care about you? Yes, of course, and quite a bit. And do I sometimes have to help take care of you? Yeah, of course I do. But then first of all, when you hear carer, you hear, and I imagine, stories about people who have much tougher times. You are obviously, particularly at the moment, in remission and therefore able to function like in 99.9% of the ways like a regular person. So it's not like I'm caring for an elderly mother or father with dementia. It's not like I'm a teenager who's looking after someone who's in a wheelchair, who's their mum or their dad or whatever, and really struggling to balance that, because I don't have to do all of that stuff. And I see those people as carers. So I feel when you use that title for yourself, you feel like a bit of an imposter. But on the other hand, and secondly, I feel like that, there's always times when you're sick. For example, when we both got COVID and we were going to be worried about you, we've only had it once, we were going to be worried about you. You bounced through it in no problem because you just had the jab. I'd obviously been longer since my last booster. So it hit me really hard. And you were actually at that time probably more caring for me than I was caring for you. So care is a two-way street, I guess. So I feel that is being makes me feel less of a carer. But then I recognise that there are times when I have to almost be the second set of eyes sometimes, like when you were going to go for your transplants and we were in ambulatory care. So we were in a sort of room, a shared room near the hospital, and you were, going through the first bit of a treatment, and I was the one sort of just trying to monitor you and make sure you were okay during the nights and stuff. And there are times like that, I suppose I'd be more active care. And then when you first came out of your transplant, obviously you had no energy to do anything, and I was cooking all of the meals and doing all of that stuff. But it's not a big deal really. But then I suppose you are more of a carer. And I think the other thing we all joked about actually is I probably benefited from getting more COVID boosters than everybody else. I feel that I'm not going to get political because we probably can't, but I feel that we should all be getting more COVID boosters for everybody, because you never know who's going to be exposed to a vulnerable person, and you could easily pick up COVID from someone who's not your carer and therefore not registered to get a booster. But I've nevertheless benefited from it and probably ended up a bit healthier as a result. I guess that a medical condition, whatever it is, comes with an extra level of responsibility for you and for everybody else around you, right? And to me, that's where we are, and I'm a carer in that regard. But that whole idea of it being a massive pressure, I'm a bit of a pragmatist like this, and I think I tend to look at these things as practical problems to be overcome. But
also in context, your parents ran a nursing home, so you've been around old sick people, and your parents were really good at keeping older people into their 103 and stuff like that. So even you've been around as a carer in some, because you didn't go and have a weekend job, you worked there cooking meals and looking after people. So I think it's come quite naturally to you in.
Yeah. My mum's a brilliant nurse. Well, retired now, but brilliant nurse. And and hospitals don't scare me either. I don't think they scare you particularly, which is good. But the joke was, when I was sort of 6 or 7, I knew the way to from A&E to the X-ray department to whatever, and I'd be showing people around because my mum was always taking people over there because of her job. So I've never been scared by that kind of stuff, and that maybe helps as well. And other people are going to struggle, and it's not that It's not a competition to do it brilliantly, and we're probably going to screw it up at some point, because it is difficult. A lot of it is difficult and complicated, and I think you've responded really well to all of that, but it's not easy. And the other thing, I mean, it actually came up last night because your temperature dropped, and you were like, "Oh, don't worry about it," and I was like,
It's fine.
I was
My
like,
fingers are shriveling. It's fine.
and I was like, "No, I'm not sure that is normal," and like making sure you took your temperature, and then being really old-fashioned, I never believed the electric ones, and we got an old mercury thermometer. Not even sure you're supposed to have one anymore.
My wrists are so bad these days. When you flick them,
Well, I could do that.
Fear of like breaking a wrist, like Patsy. Like she.
But anyway, your temperature dropped yesterday. I was like, no, we have to take your temperature. We have to be serious. And it's like, oh, okay. No, it would be borderline if it was any lower than that. But I'm not worried about it. But yeah, you have to, look out for things like sepsis. You have to be aware that there was a time when we were, it was almost a little bit, almost hairy, when we were in the south of France about 15, 16 months ago, eating a lot of cheese and drinking a lot of wine with our friends. And we'd all had a good night staying in this villa, which some friends had rented. And your temperature started to rise, and it wasn't like it was at the danger level, but I was very aware we'd all had too much to drink, and I went down to Tom, who was the one most sober person there, and who I don't think had drunk or had only had a glass. And I was like, I'm just a bit worried you're going to have to go to hospital. And I'm even more worried that I'm not going to be able to have the French ability to translate why this is important. And let's just see how it goes for the next half hour or whatever. So you have to take that level of responsibility, even when it's not immediately obvious. And there's sometimes when you would be worried as well. The other time I particularly remember, your first birthday, which was very shortly after diagnosis, like a month after diagnosis, you probably only just started treatment that week, or like a couple of weeks before maybe, but around about then. And we were hoping actually to go away to Munich at that point to get a proper break. We hadn't left the country for ages. We'd gone through this stressful time, and of course that was sort of off the cards because you were only just starting treatment. So we got a hotel thanks to a friend in London, and we just went to the zoo. And you were in that sort of like incredible monkey enclosure they have at London Zoo, and sort of where the monkeys sort of dance around amongst you and you sort of walk around them, and suddenly you were slightly dropping, and I was like, oh, that's not normal, and I sort of grabbed you so you didn't sort of fall to your knees, and the one of the keepers was very lovely and was like, oh, do you need anything? And I was like leading you out. Of course they don't have any benches in there, so I had to lead you out and sit you down for like 10 minutes. We had a thermometer in your bag, took your temperature, and then it's like, oh, okay, just have some water and you'll probably be okay. But those kinds of times can be a little bit scary, particularly until you're used to them.